Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Intro to Mindfulness webinar. My name is Neil. I'm an integrated mindfulness coach. I do mindfulness coaching here at the facility in Denver, Colorado. This is something I do as a service on its own, and I also do this in conjunction with a couple of our functional medicine practitioners here at the facility. So tonight we're going to introduce the topic of mindfulness and answer, what is mindfulness? I'm going to go into some of the benefits and why we might practice this. We're going to play around a little bit and go through a couple different mindfulness exercises. We're going to talk about building a morning routine and making this something of a habit that we tap into more regularly. And also going to go into some of the other areas of mindfulness. So first of all, what is mindfulness? Okay. Mindfulness has a lot of different definitions depending on who you talk to. The leading experts in the field really can't come to a mutual agreement as far as what exactly mindfulness is. I like to think about it in two different parts. One of it is the psychological state, or the aspect of being present day to day. And this is something that we can think about as non-judgmental awareness. Awareness, of our thoughts, of our mind, of our body. Of movement, of how our communication, how we relate to different things within the world. We can also think about this as moment-to-moment presence, or similar to getting in the flow state. Okay, or we can also think about this as intentionally paying attention. It sounds kind of funny, but once we start to embark on this mindfulness journey, you start to realize, there's a lot that I do automatically that I don't necessarily, I'm not aware of, or I don't intentionally act upon. We can also think about mindfulness in the sense of different exercises. It's almost like training for our brain. We go to the gym and train our muscles, a lot of us. We can equally train our brain to create better potential in our brain as well as improve mental health. Different types of brain training exercises can kind of be broken down into one category is focused attention. This is something like a meditation on your breathing, a specific maybe breathing technique, or doing, maybe yoga or Tai Chi. These are examples of maybe a focused attention brain exercise. We can also do open monitoring exercises. This is going to be more so just paying attention to what's going on without a whole lot of redirection or guidance, more so just observing what's going on. Okay, and bringing ourselves back to that place of awareness as needed. And then there's intentional practices. And this is, things like cultivating compassion and kindness, or maybe prayer or mantras. We're really creating an intention and trying to act on that within our practice. Okay, what's cool about mindfulness is that it's been around in almost all historical cultures and religions. And obviously there's different takes at it, but ultimately trying to get at something very similar here. Okay, and ancient techniques are actually starting to get a lot of scientific support and getting a lot more belief in our culture, at least here in America. I like to boil mindfulness down into, this is really the best definition we can come to, intentionally and non-judgmentally using and or building your capacity for present awareness of body, mind, and interworld experiences. So again, you can look at these different components here to mindfulness. This is really a great start as far as getting at what this really means. Okay. So why practice mindfulness? Okay, there's a lot of benefits that, again, as I mentioned, science is starting to come around as far as measuring things that change in the body when we start to practice different types of mindfulness. Okay, but really comes down to, if you're interested in self-improvement, whether that be for performance, for better relationships, for how you just experience the world and handle life stress, mindfulness is a tool for you to tap into. And really the goal of mindfulness is to find balance in your life. This is balance between your thinking and analytical states of mind, and the more go with the flow, being present, less analytical states of mind. Okay, and using mindfulness skills to bring balance and check in with yourself, and really as a self tool to know, to bring yourself where you want to be psychologically. Okay, there's a lot of potential we have to tap into, and really just scratching the surface as far as our understanding of how to use mindfulness. But what's so cool is that we already do know a lot of benefits. Okay, and some of the studied benefits here, like I talked about, being emotionally resilient. Okay, this is, stress is inevitable. It's something that is going to happen to us regardless of how we live our life. A big part of it is how we choose to respond to the stress rather than just reacting to the stress impulsively. Okay, stress has a profound effect on our health. Okay, and if we can manage how stress affects our body, we can tap into a lot of health potential and also potentially rid ourselves or at least decrease the likelihood of a lot of different diseases. Okay, we know there's a lot of scientific support for the reduction in anxiety and depression, ADHD, as well as just other cognitive decline or brain atrophy conditions. Okay, we also see that there is a reduction in blood pressure. Okay, as we start practicing mindfulness. One thing that's super powerful is our ability to influence our immune function. Okay, so as we practice mindfulness, as I mentioned, we can really take control of our stress response or how our body manages stress. Okay, and in doing so, we can really reduce the likelihood of what this can have on the effect that this can have on our body, and therefore improve our immune function. There's been studies looking into how mindfulness or mindset training can regulate and reduce inflammation to different stresses to our body. Pretty cool. We also see improvement in children that practice mindfulness as far as behavior goes, and also as far as performance in school goes, and as well as a boost in productivity in the workplace as well as with sport. Okay, so let's jump in and practice a little bit here. Okay, we're going to start with just a pretty basic mindfulness meditation. Okay, so it's important to know that as we start mindfulness and we start a meditation practice, we shouldn't expect to just find stillness instantly, and judge ourselves based on that. That's really the wrong approach if we're trying to integrate this into our life in a healthy way. What's really important is that you just try this and go into this with a sense of openness to the challenge and wholeheartedly committing to at least trying this for at least a couple of weeks. 4 to 6 weeks is a great starting point. And we'll get into some of that later and how to build a habit. But it's important to know, to not have too much of an expectation as far as what you should be experiencing, but just accepting whatever arises throughout this experience here. Okay, so if you're seated upright, that's awesome. I don't want to be too rigid in posture, but also don't want to be too slouched here. You can also lie on your back. Okay, sometimes closing the eyes helps to just bring a little bit of more stillness to our mind, take out some of the stimuli visually. Okay, so as we sit here or lie, the part with that incorporates more mindfulness in the meditation is just noticing your breath. Okay, or maybe feeling the breath sensation. You might be feeling your belly expanding, okay, your chest rising, or you might be noticing how the air kind of comes into your nostrils and fills your lungs. Whatever you're paying attention to, whatever you choose, okay, just notice your breath and be aware of the sensation. It's important to know that your mind will wander. Okay, that's kind of expected with any sort of meditation practice. Okay, as your mind wanders, gently refraining from judgment, bring your awareness back to your breath. Okay, the goal with this really the goal is just to try this and practice, and as we get better, we start to become the neutral observer to our breath or to whatever we are aware of in that moment. Okay, so we're going to start out with 3 minutes here. This is a great starting point, not making it too big for ourselves, but also giving ourselves a chance to see what it's like once we sit down and bring awareness to our present breath here. Okay, so we'll start. I'm going to ding a little bell and I'll start a timer for 3 minutes here. Again, as your mind wanders, gently bringing awareness back to your breath. Alrighty, that was 3 minutes here. Nice job if you made it this far. Okay. Again, it's important that we don't create too much of an expectation for what our meditation experience should be like. Okay. Trying and making an effort to just do the meditation is the primary goal here. Okay. And that is successful in itself. This is a good time to check in and see, hey, what was that like? What was my mind like? Did I get distracted pretty frequently, or was I able to keep my awareness on my breath? Okay. So that was more of an open monitoring meditation that I kind of like what I talked about at the beginning of the lecture here. That we're just watching. We're not necessarily guiding or bringing too much focused attention, rather just monitoring and lightly being aware of our breath. Okay. Again, when I started practicing meditation, I thought I kind of had an expectation as far as I should find this Zen state or this blissed out state. Okay. What we find out is you talk to people that try this, and even people that have been doing this for many, many years, that meditation can actually be more like this. Okay. Again, most of us have maybe a picture of like a yogi or a monk, sitting school style and just experiencing meditation. And that's kind of what we put as the picture of meditation. It's important to know, sometimes it's kind of like this. Sometimes our mind is very persistent in trying to, analyze and think and make judgments about ourselves or about others, or, tell us all the things that we have to do. Okay. And that's where just simply and why I really stress, non-judgmentally bringing yourself back to whatever we are meditating with. Okay. So another type of practice that I want to get into is more of a focused attention exercise. Okay, so the breath is really powerful. It can be used to create different psychological states based on our goal. Okay, kind of some background here. If we think about the nervous system, there's two parts to what are called our autonomic nervous system, meaning a lot of the processes that go on in the background, like digestion and a lot of times breathing. Okay, our body is taking care of all that stuff without us consciously choosing to. It just happens. Okay, and this autonomic nervous system is really, or is usually shifting kind of between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous systems, okay? And we're always, using both of these to some degree, okay? But what happens is, as we get high stress environments, or even just looking at our culture, very high stress, very go, 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 okay, we can get very sympathetic dominant, okay? You maybe have heard like the fight or flight. Okay, that's more sympathetic nervous system. The opposite to that, or the counter, is the parasympathetic nervous system. We think of this as more the rest and digest state of our nervous system. Okay, and again, through our day, our nervous system is really shifting tone between these. Hopefully, being able to find balance. And that's where mindfulness allows us to bring better balance, and it allows us a system to start to check in, okay, and ask ourselves, where am I at? Am I, been going and really rushed and stressed the whole morning? Or have I been able to kind of dip in and out of that and find my more calm states of being? Okay, so one thing that we can do to start to shift our nervous system into more of that sympathetic state, okay, is a breathing exercise. Very simple, okay? I call this parasympathetic stimulation breathing. Some people call it vagus breathing, as we're stimulating the vagus nerve, which is a big part of the parasympathetic nervous system. Or we can just think about it as belly breathing, or even some people think about it as diaphragm breathing. Okay, so to start out, again, we're going to sit similar to how we were with our other meditation, or lie on your back. Sometimes this exercise can be easier done on your back if you're struggling to feel what I'm about to ask here. Okay, so first, our mind is set to somewhat of a calm state. Okay, if we're go, 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 it doesn't really matter what breathing we're doing. If we don't kind of reset our mind, or set at least somewhat of an intention to downregulate our stress, yeah, we're not going to get too far. So step one, set an intention for hopefully getting into more of a parasympathetic state here. Okay. Step two is to inhale into your diaphragm or your belly on your lower respiratory capacity. Okay, so to start this and to do this breathing exercise, we're going to place one hand on your belly and one hand on your chest. Okay, and what I want you to start to notice once we get going with the exercise is that the hand on the belly expands or raises before the hand on your chest raises. Okay, and for some of us, this might be really easy. Others, it might be challenging. It takes some practice. Okay, but again, we want to feel that belly expanding into our hand, and even maybe into our sides a little bit as we inhale. Okay, and then part three is to really emphasize the exhale. Okay, and I don't want you to do this in a way that's going to stress you out or induce any sort of panic. Again, we want to keep that intention for a calm state. Okay, but as we exhale, we start to stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system. Okay, that's part of our nervous system is really associated with the exhalation. So by lengthening and even just being sure that we're getting a full exhale, we can really start to downregulate our nervous system. Okay, and some signs that you're starting to get into more of that relaxed state, you may notice your breathing rate starting to slow. Okay, so that means you're taking less breaths per minute. Okay, and you also might notice that the depth of your breath starts to increase, meaning you're breathing a little bit deeper. Okay, so as our depth of breath and our breathing rate start to slow, this is something that is really showing us we're on the right track and our body's starting to respond to the exercise we're doing. Again, if this doesn't happen, it's not a failure, but just some signs that you can start to tune into to know, my body's kind of listening. It's kind of following along with what I'm doing here. Okay, so again, we'll start. Just gonna do this for a couple minutes here. Okay, again, we're gonna put one hand on your belly, okay, and one hand on your chest here. We'll spend a little over a minute here. Okay, just gonna take a couple breaths here. Again, as your awareness or attention may wander, just bring it back to this belly breathing or diaphragm breathing. Alrighty, that was a quick minute there. I just wanted to get you a little taste of another exercise here. Okay. So, this is something that I come to day. Big time is when I'm driving. And that's pretty common for people to notice out and we're driving, start to grip the wheel tense or clench our jaw or maybe tense our shoulders. Okay. Or maybe at work if we're really focused on what we're doing. This is a great thing to come to again get us into more of that composed, calm state of more relaxed clarity versus just stressed, really analytical states of thought. Okay. Again, we want to use mindfulness to find balance. This is a tool to really bring that balance into more of a relaxed state. Okay. A great time to use this as well, okay, is in the morning. This is something I do right away when I wake up. Many of us, we start our day, okay, with an alarm blaring at us and we get up and are instantly going. Or we hit snooze, but our mind is right away, thinking about the tasks we have to do that day or, a challenge we have that's been bothering us or whatever it may be. Okay. So if we can revert that and actually start our day with a sense of composure, okay, and with a sense of control, we can really change and shift our whole day. Health is very momentous, okay, and if we start our day with a healthy choice, we're a lot more likely to choose healthy choices throughout the day as well. Okay, as well as maybe say no to some of the unhealthy options that may pull us. Okay, so if we can start our day with this, we're a lot more likely to experience this state more calm control over our life throughout our day. And really, that's the goal, is to use exercises like this as practice, but also to be able to integrate those into our day to day life. Okay. If mindfulness is something that you're serious about and really want to improve your life, starting this at the beginning of the day is going to be the best time. Okay. I really like the belly breathing just because we're able to work with our nervous system and our body and our mind together here, kind of working on some of that mind body connection. Okay. But also, you got to find what works for you. And if this isn't the exercise for you, that's okay. There's a lot of other options. Okay. But really, if you made it this far, you're serious about wanting to change your life, and that's really powerful. If you're still here, I encourage you to choose one thing to start tomorrow morning. Okay. So this is an immediate thing we can do. Okay. I realize this is just a quick presentation, but hopefully you have some momentum already going and you have an idea of, hey, am I more for a open monitoring meditation, just watching my breath or watching my thoughts? Or do I want to do something more like belly breathing, or a guided, specific type of breathing? Okay. You also may like to use something like positive words or affirmations to yourself. This can be internally or spoken, or maybe prayer or finding a mantra. A mantra is something that you can chant or rehearse, again, either internally or externally, as a way to try to bring more positivity or to try to bring a specific intention into your body and into your mind. Also, a gratitude journal. This is a great thing to start in the morning as well. There's a lot of research starting to look into gratitude and the effects that it has on our body. And we do know that it starts something within us and makes us, again, more likely to be appreciative of other things in our life. Okay, so start and choose one of these tomorrow. Okay. I encourage you to stick with it for 4 to 6 weeks if it's something you really want to embark on. Okay. But you can also shift and maybe choose a different strategy if you feel like you're trying this one for a couple days or a couple weeks and it's just not working for you or not getting any easier. Again, it is a little bit of a challenge, but over time, these should get a little bit easier, just like anything we practice in life. Okay. So what's next? Obviously, we're not all going to become perfect Zen rainbow meditating on a cushion in complete bliss, like this picture here. Okay, that'd be awesome if that's how it was, but not exactly the reality of practicing mindfulness. Okay, but you have a couple tools right now that you can instantly integrate into a set of brain training exercises or mindfulness exercises, as well as into your day-to-day life. Okay, and again, that's the really important goal, and hopefully the takeaway here is that we practice these things as exercise, whether that be you're doing yoga or you're spending time meditating or we're spending time doing whatever practice you find. Okay, but also day to day when we're at work, in the car, when we're talking to our family. Okay, we're using this sort of awareness to help our life in that sort of way as well. And in those moments, okay, being present, being able to get some space from our thinking and to be able to, be present with those around us. Okay, and not to be so quick to judge and impulsively getting carried away with our thoughts, but having some space and being able to live life from more of that perspective. Okay, if you're interested in this, I'd love to have you join in upcoming courses. Okay, there's going to be 5 parts to my mindfulness series here. Okay, we're going to look into things like different types of meditation. Again, almost all cultures in our history that we study have used mindfulness or some sort of meditation. And it's really important that you find what works for you. So we're going to highlight a couple different types and give you a couple different contexts as far as how to maybe use those in your life. Another evening will be on neuroplasticity. This is the idea that our brain can actively change, okay, and does actively change through our life. A lot of people think as we age, our body or especially our brain is kind of set in stone, and that's just the way we are. What recent research has showed is that our brains are constantly changing and molding throughout our life, even into our later years of life. Okay, and through mindset training or mindfulness, we're able to tap into that and help that change be for the better. Our body is always adapting to life and to stress around it. If we can help that adapt for more health, really that's obviously a positive thing. Okay, and then obviously going a little bit more into breath and some of the physiology of our breathing and the anatomy of breathing. Okay, obviously I touched on it a little bit with parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system information, but also going to go a little bit deeper into that, and also tying in with that the physiology of stress and what actually happens in our body when we're subjected to stress, and then ultimately how we regulate that. Also going to have an evening focused on movement as mindfulness practice. So I mentioned, yoga and Tai Chi. These are 2 common mindfulness practices with movement. There's also ways, whatever you like to do for movement, we can make that a mindfulness practice if that's your intent. And that's something that is of desire to you, whether that be going on walks, okay, or on your run, or, you like to get a hard workout in the gym. Those can all be very mindful if that's where we set our intention. Okay, and also looking at mindfulness for performance. I work with some athletes that really high level have taken hold of this to help regulate stress day to day to then perform better, but also in preparing for performance. Things like positive mental imagery, okay, and seeing ourselves, having success, and also mindfulness for crisis. Again, I mentioned how we practice these things, but ultimately we want to use these things day to day in our life. Okay. And we're always subjected to stress. And sometimes, through our life, there will be maybe more of a crisis. Okay. And we're not going to really be thinking a whole lot during something like this, but rather, kind of coming back to our training in a sense, or we freak out and panic and, can't help whatever the crisis is that we find ourselves in. And it's really powerful, and seeing that you can start to, again, get space from your thoughts and get a little bit of space from the stress that we face. And again, choose to respond, okay, and respond with more ease, but also clarity, okay, in the moment. And then we'll also have an evening just going into a little bit more of additional mindfulness tips, ideas, and some of the research that wasn't covered in the previous sections that we talked about here. So yeah, thank you for joining tonight. Okay, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. My contact will be emailed to you upon signing up for this webinar. Okay, as part of this webinar as well, I'll send you a little journal to start tracking what you're doing in the morning and also just day to day, kind of touching into a little bit of gratitude and building that mindfulness practice. Again, if we want this to be important, or if we want this to be successful in our life, we really got to find a way to make it a habit. Okay, is practicing exercises regularly, but also remembering the state day to day. Okay, moment to moment, and coming back to that state of neutral presence here. Okay, again, any questions, please reach out. Thanks for listening. Have a great night, guys.